So a lot of you have been asking how to make kombucha, and that's what we're going to do today. So first we're going to make the tea. You're going to boil some water in a pot, and boiling it will get any of the chemicals in the water out. And there's a recipe that I use from Wild Fermentation, is a book by Sandor Katz, a great book. There's a recipe in there. You see it's for a quart of water, a quarter cup of sugar, and a tablespoon, about 2 tea bags. By now I don't follow the recipe anymore, but it's useful when you start out. I use agave or honey or sugar. Turn off the heat and add a couple tea bags, and I'm using black tea. You can use herbal tea. Now the most important part here is to let the tea cool. It can't be hot when you put it into your jar with the kombucha. So I usually do this at night, let it cool overnight, and then I do the bottling in the morning. So now the bottling. I already had a batch going, so before putting in the new tea I have to bottle this. This is what it looks like in the jar. And so I'm going to take the kombucha culture out. This is the baby, the small kombucha that is made from the mother. And it's very small. This one's very small. Every time you make a batch, the kombucha makes a baby. So this is perfect for sharing with your friends. So then make sure you get the big mama out. This is the big kombucha mama. This is the kombucha culture that makes the kombucha and eats the sugar and excretes glucuronic acid and CO2, so it is carbonated, and that's why we're going to bottle it, to get that carbonation to stay in the bottle. And you can read more about the kombucha online, but that's what it looks like, and it doesn't like metal, so that's why I got wooden tongs. You can use a wooden spoon or something, but that was the easiest way to get it out of the jar. So that's the baby. It's actually really small. Usually it's a layer that you kind of peel off the bottom. And of the kombucha. And you're always going to want to keep it covered in its own liquid. This is the starter liquid. When you give the kombucha away and when you make a new batch, you always use that same liquid. So put that aside for now, and now we're going to bottle. So you can add organic fruit juice. I had these juices lying around, or anything you want to experiment with, herbs, fruits. The important thing is to put these into the bottle and not into the batch, into the jar when the kombucha is brewing. So pretty simple, use a funnel. Make sure you leave a little bit of space at the top of the bottle so it's not all the way at the top, just because there's going to be some carbonation. And the reason we add a little bit more sugar in the form of the fruit juice here is so that the kombucha will continue to ferment again and then make that CO2, and you're bottling it so the CO2 is not leaving the bottle. Sometimes I just add fresh mint or sage or thyme or lavender. My favorite is ginger and thyme, ginger thyme, and I just put that straight into the bottle. This is kombucha without any of the fruit juice in it, and so have fun with this. This is where you get to experiment with all the different flavors, and I love to use these bottles that close themselves, and leave those out of the fridge for 2 to 3 days, and then make sure you refrigerate them to stop the fermentation process. So there you've bottled, and now you're going to take your kombucha mama and put her back into the jar. I just rinsed out the jar, but you don't really have to. And I put it in there, and I put a little bit of the starter juice back in there. So this is the kombucha that was just in the jar. It's vinegary, so that it's not just all new tea. And I leave some in there for the baby as well. And there's the kombucha, and the kombucha will grow to whatever size jar you have, which is cool. So now that the tea is cooled, I left that overnight. I pour that in there, make sure the tea is not hot. You will kill your kombucha if you do that. And there's the tea, and I cover it with some cheesecloth or paper towel and a rubber band just to make sure it doesn't get bugs in it because it's sugary. And you're going to leave that out for about a week in the summer and maybe 10 days in the winter, depending on how warm it is, just not in direct sunlight. So that's the baby, and the final step of making kombucha is putting that little baby in a jar and giving it to a friend so they can enjoy kombucha too. Thanks for watching.